Welcome, everybody. I would say it is good to see you, but I'm not at the moment seeing faces. We are just working through some normal technical issues, and we can get good at this. And what I mean by that is, if it can go wrong, it will. So why don't we meditate? And why don't you settle down, settle in, and let's get started. And I will lead you in, and then you can continue with your meditation. So find a relaxed and comfortable position. And I invite you to take 3 deep into your diaphragm, slow breaths, and try breathing out twice as long as you breathe in. Get comfortable wherever you're sitting, or even if you're lying in bed, but always keep your back not too tight, not too rigid, but straight. And your hands can rest wherever they're comfortable. Tongue can be on the roof of your mouth, and that will relax your chin and your jaw. And see if you can notice your body from the inside, the shape of your body, the weight, and become curious about your body. Seated here or lying here, notice the sensations where your body is touching places. Is your stomach talking to you? See if you can connect with your resting place. Notice areas of tightness and tension, and just breathe into them and soften them. Allow your mind to be as spacious as the sky. Your breath is breathing naturally, and you don't need to do anything about it. Not long, not short, not deep, just natural. Notice, if you can, where you feel your breath in your body. It may be in your abdomen again, or it could be in your chest or throat or in your nostrils. See if you can feel the sensations of breath, one breath at a time. When one breath ends, the next breath begins. You might notice that your mind is wandering, and you might start thinking about other things. If this happens, it's not a problem. It's natural. Just notice that your mind has wandered, and you can say thinking or wandering in your head softly, labeling. Then gently redirect your attention right back to the breathing. And so we'll stay like this for some time in silence until the bell rings. Welcome, everyone. I don't know if where you are, you notice the heavens opening up and the rain's coming down, but we're about to get cleansed on some level. I am Alexis Stein, one of your Dharma leaders at Insight Meditation Community of Charlotte. And I'd like you to take just a minute and greet everyone by checking out people and saying hello. We are in the midst of studying the hindrances, and you have heard from Debbie and Ward. And today I'm going to introduce the topic of sloth and torpor. But first I want to tell you about 6 weeks ago, I became ill, and I was pretty uncomfortable. And this went on and on and on. And by the 3rd week, I thought, when is this going to end? And it was about time for me to start preparing my talk, because I always start early and ruminate on it. And as soon as I started dealing with the topic of sloth and torpor, I realized I was no longer sick. I was suffering from sloth and torpor. So with that, I want to just say mistakes don't happen, but opportunities do. So the 5 hindrances are key psychological forces or mind states that obscure what is considered the natural brightness or luminosity and healthy functioning of the mind. Because these mind states hinder our ability to pay attention, it's important for those of us practicing insight meditation and mindfulness to become aware of them when they arise. So I said earlier My hindrance topic today is sloth and torpor. And I want to let you know that Clyde is my co-host today, and he is going to try to assist me. Notice I said try. We have no idea if this is going to work, but he is going to periodically put up a cartoon or two that will illustrate what I'm talking about. So why is this hindrance named sloth and torpor? Sloth is not an animal that most of us are familiar with. The three-toed sloth is an animal that hangs by its feet upside down for hours and hours. It's been said you can shoot a gun right by its head and it won't even turn its head. And then after a long time, it might make its way down the tree, have a little something to eat, and then go back up and just hang out there for hours again. So if you can get an image of the sloth in your mind, you understand what it's like when you're experiencing sloth and torpor. Now, torpor, the Buddha compared torpor to being imprisoned in a cramped, dark cell, unable to move freely in the bright sunshine outside. The quality of sloth and torpor in our minds is a sinking into a state of dullness, of sleepiness, of heaviness, where there's no clarity or energy. There's no light in the mind. Everything is murky and confused, and we feel disconnected. The body may feel lethargic, weary, or weak. It may be difficult to keep the body erect when meditating. The mind might be cloudy or weary. Being caught in sloth or torpor can resemble slogging through deep mud or sand on the beach after a storm. When this hindrance is strong, there's not even enough mindfulness to know we are suffering. Discouragement, frustration, boredom, indifference, giving up, hopelessness, and resistance are some of the psychological causes of sloth and torpor. But Gil Fronsdale says the presence of sloth and torpor does not mean that energy is not available. It means we're not accessing it. With a change in conditions, energy may reappear in a moment. Mindfulness practice can help us understand how our thoughts and reactions lead to lethargy. We might notice the role resistance plays in the sinking of energy. Shutting down energetically can be a strategy to prevent something from happening or from having to experience it. Occasionally, falling asleep in meditation can be a deep almost unconscious form of resistance. Sloth and torpor may arise from evaluating something as boring, but Fronsdale says nothing is inherently boring. Boring is a judgment, an activity of the mind. Other evaluations that drain energy are discouragement, self-pity, and ideas of futility. These can come with defeatist stories like, I can't stand this anymore. It's too hard. Or I feel so isolated. Or a feeling of being overwhelmed. Learning to mindfully watch our thoughts instead of actively participating in them can effectively stop them from draining our energy. But a more subtle cause of sloth and torpor can be complacency. This can occur when we're lulled by comfort, misguided acceptance of what is, or just confusion. Complacency may arise when meditation feels easy and comfortable. The warm, fuzzy feeling that everything is okay, the mind can easily drift off to sleep. But I think this is an especially difficult time for all of us, and one that few people alive have ever experienced in their lifetime, and that's the COVID pandemic. In an article in the New York Times in mid-October, it talked about the following. When the coronavirus began sweeping around the globe this spring, people from Seattle to Rome to London canceled weddings and vacations, cut off visits with relatives, and hunkered down in their homes for what they thought would be a brief but essential period of isolation. But summer did not extinguish the virus. And with fall has come another dangerous, uncontrolled surge of infections. The virus has taken different paths as leaders have tried to tamp down the spread with a range of restrictions. Shared, however, is a public weariness and a growing tendency to risk the dangers of the coronavirus. And in sharp contrast to the spring, the rituals of hope and utility that helped us endure the first surge of the virus had given way to exhaustion and frustration. People are done putting hearts on their windows and teddy bears out for scavenger hunts, said Katie Rosenberg, the mayor of Wausau, Wisconsin, a city of 38,000, where a hospital has opened an extra unit to treat COVID-19 patients. People have had enough. In parts of the world where the virus is resurging, the outbreaks and a rising sense of apathy are colliding, making for a dangerous combination. Health officials say the growing impatience is a new challenge as they try to slow the latest outbreaks, and it threatens to exacerbate what they fear is turning into a devastating autumn. Countries around the world, and in the US in particular, have already weathered two major surges. Researchers from the World Health Organization estimate that about half the population is experiencing pandemic fatigue. Dr. Hans Klug of the WHO said citizens have made huge sacrifices, and it's come with an extraordinary cost. And it has also exhausted all of us, regardless of where we live or what we do. In the spring, it was fear and a sense of we're all in this together, said Vale Wright, a psychologist at the American Psychological Association, who studies stress in the United States. Things are different now, she said. Fear has been replaced with fatigue. I'm so tired of everything, she said, pulling at the black mask on her face and worrying what she'll do when the weather turns cold. She's obviously not a Buddhist because she's worried about the future instead of being here right now. When is it going to be over, she says. I want it to be over. And I know none of you have said that to yourselves. In our lives, we are usually moving, going, doing. We lead busy lives, and the energy and stimulation fuels us. For those of us who have been quarantined at home, even if you're working from home, what at first seemed like a vacation soon became stressful and perhaps irritating, and eventually just old. Meditation, glow, for some may have lost its luster. The tranquil side of things, relaxing, letting go, yielding, surrendering, being as at peace, has changed for many of us. Rather than the alert, energized, interested, inspired aspects of the mind that we are used to, we may find ourselves dragging or meandering along mindlessly. When tranquility isn't balanced with an equal measure of alertness, it's easy to fall into a lackluster, drifting state. Perhaps you've become complacent, going through your day on a kind of cruise control. Or perhaps you've lost a certain quality of vibrancy and alertness that you once expected. And sloth and torpor is a new facet of your mind. Perhaps boredom that I mentioned earlier takes over. Things are just neutral, not exceptionally pleasant, nor painful. Everything seems old, ordinary, and not very stimulating. The days blend together. Is it Monday? Tuesday? Oh, it's Wednesday because we're meeting with Insight. We lose track because so much of life has changed and lacks our normal activities. If we become more mindful, we can see that boredom is really just lack of attention, and we can overcome the sloth and torpor by more carefully focusing the mind on the body, paying closer attention to what is happening in the here and now. But in the face of difficulty, whatever we are struggling with in this COVID world, we pull back. Dharmanet.org stated that there is another deeper, more profound meaning to this hindrance. Sloth and torpor on this deeper level is the tendency to withdraw, to retreat, a willingness not to engage, and not wanting to go forward with the difficulty. Pulling back, we're unable to draw on the strength that we actually have to deal with what is arising. At that time, we're unable to connect with any of our strengths. And as Bhante G says, insight requires our energy, vigor, and sharpness. We may see the sloth and torpor played out in our lives in many different ways. When we're not willing to arouse the energy and the effort to meet the difficult challenges that are coming our way. Think about your own life. Have you experienced a sense of pulling back or retreating at a time when difficulties have arisen? The heaviness of sinking into that dull, unengaged state of mind doesn't serve us well. We lose our zest for life. We need to begin investigating what's going on. We need to note it and name it or label it. Ah, this is sloth and torpor. Make the dullness that arises become your object of awareness. Pay attention. Focus on the body feel of it. Watch it in real time and see it change. Then do the same with your mind. What is happening in your mind? What mind states can you name? Do not judge. Just notice and become more familiar with the characteristics and qualities you're experiencing. When we make an effort to become aware of what is happening in our mind and bodies, we create more energy. Think of the example of when you're really tired, but you're determined to go out and exercise. How do you feel when you're finished? Usually, we're energized. And so it is with sloth and torpor. When we make the effort to name it, label it, note it, and focus on what's happening, we become more alert and more energized. When we allow ourselves to see hindrances as challenges rather than difficulties, we can engage with them, learn about them, and finally see how they arise and pass away. The Buddha gives us a lot of advice about how to deal with sleepiness. I was going to read this story, but I want to tell you something else. So I'm going to just give you what he suggests that we do. The first thing he suggests is if you're feeling sleepy, think of the Dharma and think of a Dharma that you like and remember it and let that stimulate you. If that doesn't work, take another one that you've memorized and say it. And then if that doesn't work, start rubbing your ears and pulling on them. With your eyes, look to the ceiling and look down. Get up if you need to. Do walking meditation and try using walking meditation as a way to encourage your alertness. And the Buddha says, and if that doesn't work, then just lie down. And to take a position like a lion with one foot on top of the other and just begin to rest. And when you wake up, get up and begin to focus and quickly thinking, I won't indulge in the enjoyment of sleep anymore. Now I'm going to read something that I pulled together today that I thought might be helpful for other ways to deal with sloth and torpor. And I'm going to paraphrase what I wrote. So one of the things that you can do is try studying some new teachers. Or if you don't listen to podcasts, start listening to podcasts. They can really energize you and teach you. A good place to start would be Dharma Seed. Okay. Another thing that you can do is give yourself some space and just accept this is a difficult time. And sloth and torpor was named for a pandemic, even if the Buddha wasn't living through a pandemic. Okay, something else you can do. I saw that Ariana Huffington suggests set up a joy list, pictures of people you love, quotes from people who you admire, Buddhist sayings that stimulate you, and have a sheet that you can take 60-second breaks from several times each day to put joy in your life. You know, beyond self-acceptance of the fact that this is a hard time, the more we learn about resilience, the more we have a new skill to deal with. So it's important to make peace with what is and to accept that the hindrance may pop up. Remember that music can comfort you. Exercise can relieve some stress. And just know that even the best trained person, whether it's a doctor or a psychiatrist, is also struggling along with you. Begin each day with gratitudes. Say a list of gratitudes and end each day with new gratitudes that you noticed during the day. And then remember that this too shall pass. Sloth and torpor is transformed by right aim and action. And that is not letting the attention become diffuse. Aim it at the experience of this very moment. Just this one breath, just this one step. Don't be concerned what's already gone by, and don't focus on what's to come. Effort creates energy. And I dropped my bell ringer. Thank you. And now we can open it to questions. And if you haven't experienced sloth and torpor, you owe us an explanation, because maybe we can learn from you.
I have a question.
Okay, I'm not sure who said that. Hold on.
Vivian.
Vivian? Okay, but I've got to find you and unmute you. Vivian, what is your log, when you logged in, what name did you use?
My you mean the link?
No, what name is on your computer so I can find you?
Vivian Peralta Mesa.
Okay, we can hear you. You're unmuted.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. When you were talking, you said, and I'm new to all the insight meditation and the Buddhist terms. So the question might be quite simple for everybody. Anyhow, what do you mean when you said think of your dharma when you're trying to take yourself out? What does that mean to think of your dharma or make your dharma, or like a thought of it? What is that?
Okay, Vivian, Dharma is the body of teachings of the Buddha. And there are thousands of those teachings. Like I was going to read a story which would have conveyed some of the ways that the Buddha suggests things. He teaches by stories, he uses similes, he uses metaphors. So the longer you study, the more Dharma you learn off the top of your head. Here's a piece of Dharma. We're all faced with 1,000 joys and 1,000, and I can't think of the word, sadnesses, hurts, traumas. That's a piece of Dharma. So what we do is we remember that life has pluses and minuses. And we're all going to face both pleasant things and distressing things. Does that help at all?
Yes. So taking stories that speak to you, that will lift you up, sayings, kind of like affirmations.
Well, it's more like teachings.
But teachings from the. Thank you.
From the
That helps
Buddha.
me.
From the Buddha. Like one of the ones I used in my talk was, "This too shall pass." Because the Buddha teaches us that everything changes. Nothing is static. So even if today is a difficult day, tomorrow may be wonderful, or the next minute may be wonderful. I love the sound of rain. So anytime I hear rain, I think of the rain cleansing some of the angst in the world. And certainly we're seeing enough of that. And we don't have to go far to see it. I hope that helps, Vivian. Thank you for your question.
It does. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go to the chat. Dirk, am I still, I don't think I'm muted now. You didn't hear the bell when I rang the bell? Does anyone hear me? You're right. But it wasn't showing.
I hear you.
I'm not sure how that happened. Thank you, Dirk. I got it. Okay, and someone loved the cartoons and says, thank you to Clyde and to myself. That's one of the ways that I deal with it, is I see articles everywhere talking about sloth and torpor. There was another one Monday that was in the Times that was excellent. It was one in the Observer. And I'm always looking at the cartoons because I want to chuckle about it, because it lightens the moment. Each of us has our own way of dealing. I think humor is an excellent teacher, and I think storytelling is an excellent teacher. So those are the methods that I prefer to use to be a teacher. So just for the heck of it, raise your hands if you've experienced sloth and torpor during this time. And then just flip through and see people's hands. Okay, there are a lot of people who haven't experienced it. Good for you. You might want to write an article about it to help the rest of us who have noticed we're on automatic pilot. And today is Wednesday.
I have a question.
Yes, Maddie.
What role would you say that like taking breaks would play in sloth and torpor? Like, would you say that it's like better to just like push through and keep practicing even if it feels kind of dull and like lifeless and like you're going through the motions, or would you say that it's better to like take a break and like come back when?
I think it's personal. I take at least 2 walks a day. Now I'm sitting in front of a computer most of the afternoons, but I go for a walk every morning and I go for a walk after my last client, except for tonight. For me, doing that re-energizes me, keeps my blood flowing, and I get a little bit of exercise. But I can't tell you, some people have a very hard time coming back after they take a break. If you're disciplined and you can come back, great. But I think that's personal. What do you think would work for you? What do you think, Maddie?
Was that a rhetorical? Okay, all right. I don't know. I think that like in my experience, having like some longer breaks from like meditation whenever it's not as inspiring has been helpful, because then whenever I come back, I'm like, oh, this is cool. But I don't know.
Why not try a different type of meditation, like listening to a talk or a podcast or going on the Insight Timer, perhaps, and listening to a guided meditation. I don't suggest completely leaving meditation as a break. I misinterpreted your word break.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That during those times, it has not been good times mentally.
Yeah, I would suggest that that might not be the wisest thing. But I would find another form and change my way of studying during a difficult time.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. Did I miss anybody? Okay. Now, everybody is muted on my screen, but somehow no one is muted. So I give up. I just work here. Okay. So let me make some announcements. And I don't have too many because the Beyond the Basics has already started. But the next event will be the Second Harvest Food Bank volunteer event with Laura DeFreya, and it is November 14th from 9 to noon, and it will be socially distanced, and please wear your mask. I hope you will remember that every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we have an instruction period. And that's a time for you. You're welcome to do it 3 times, 8 times, 15 times. There's no limit on how often you can do it. So please feel free to join us. I want to ask May to ask her question. May? I'm doing my best, guys. May, see if you can unmute yourself. Your hand is up, May Israel. Are you there, May, or is that an accident? Okay. Next Wednesday night is the first Wednesday of the month. And the first Wednesday of the month is always a time for us at 6:45 to 7:20 for individuals who have an established practice and would like some additional instruction or to ask some one-on-one questions. So there will be a link on our website if you're interested in attending that. Please check out our website. The newsletter is published the first of the month, and Elaine works very hard on getting that to you and the committee. There are so many volunteers behind the scenes. If I didn't say to you that Clyde was assisting me, you'd think I was a magician. But no one can do this by themselves. We need all of you, and we invite you to try something new and perhaps volunteer. Isn't that a novel idea? Are there any IMC, non-IMC meditation related announcements? I think Denise. Okay. Now, Joy's Hindrance talk on November 11th will start at 7:30, not 8 o'clock. So that must be an error somewhere, since we usually begin at 7:30. And on November 18th, we have Mark Nunberg, and he's delightful. I strongly want, to encourage you to make sure he's on your calendar. I also see that May wants to make a response, but May, I don't know how to
No, I was just responding that since my the video this evening is out, when you asked people to raise their hand about sloth, I just did that.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. Mystery solved.
Okay.
Thank you, May. Now let's see, Joy's talk, which is not next week, it's in 2 weeks. Will be at 7:30 with the meditation afterwards or interspersed with her talk. So that's what the confusion was. Thank you, Denise, for clarifying that. Denise is always on her toes. Again, I want to thank the volunteers. Please consider spending some time doing something different in your life and give us some of your volunteer energy. You will meet other people. Unfortunately, it's probably through Zoom right now, but that's okay. And you'll stretch your own skills. So we encourage you to volunteer. I want to remind people that there's always a need for Donna if you are in a position to give. And you can go to our website, www.imccharlotte.org to donate. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is invite you to settle in again before I introduce Metta. You're welcome to repeat these phrases to yourself or to add any phrases that fit for you today that will address a need for metta. May I be free of enmity, unwholesomeness, and judgment of myself and others. May I be free of troubles of body and mind. May I be free of hurtfulness and unkind words and deeds. May my mind be as spacious as the sky. May I be able to protect my happiness and add to the happiness of others. May I daily celebrate my gratitudes and joys, both big and small. And now I encourage you to invite by saying names and bringing in images of people that you would like to say metta for. And this next round of metta will be in honor of them. May you be free of enmity, unwholesomeness, and judgment of yourself and others. May you be free of troubles of body and mind. May you be free of hurtfulness and unkind words and deeds. May your mind be as spacious as the sky. May you be able to protect your happiness and add to the happiness of others. And may you daily celebrate your gratitudes and joys, both big and small. And now let's include all sentient beings. And include them in our metta, no matter where they live and no matter their circumstance. May you be free of enmity, unwholesomeness, and judgment of yourself and others. May you be free of troubles of body and mind. May you be free of hurtfulness and unkind words and deeds. May your mind be as spacious as the sky. May you be able to protect your happiness and add to the happiness of others. And may you daily celebrate your gratitudes and joys, both big and small. Have a healthy, stress-free, and joyous week.